You're tuned into the Lofi Preacher, where the beats are smooth and the vibes run deep.
The world is full of consumers. People who wait to be fed, wait to be entertained, wait to be given things. They mistake convenience for contentment. But there is a rare, furious breed who finds peace only in production. They do not wait for the future. They tear pieces from the present and forge the future themselves. They do not talk about what should be built. They are already covered in the dust of creation. This is not about market domination. This is about defining reality. This is the world of Silas. The architect's motivation isn't money, it's the unbearable silence of an empty space. His uniform isn't a suit, it's the scarred, heavy leather apron and the welding mask that comes down to block out everything but the spark. The clock is irrelevant in his workshop. The sun has no jurisdiction here. He looks not at the finished work, but at the raw materials piled in the corner. The cold steel, the rigid timber, the untouched stone. This is the true terror, the blank page. Most people are paralyzed by the beginning. They love the idea of having created, but they despise the actual painful process of creation. Silas rejects this cowardice. He understands that the oath of the true creator is this: I will not rest until the space is scarred. You must embrace the dirt. You must understand that the struggle, the doubt, the physical ache of shaping something resistant is the only meaningful measure of your desire. The man who finds comfort in the finished product is a tourist. The man who finds purpose in the relentless, painful process of the unfinished is the architect. And this is why the sparks fly, hitting the heavy glass of the welding mask, burning out of existence. Silas sees nothing but the focused point of creation. He is alone. And this solitude is not a consequence of his work. It is a requirement. The creative act is a dictatorship. When you invite the crowd into your workshop, you are inviting confusion, criticism, and compromise. The crowd will always ask you to build something small, something safe. Silas keeps his mask down because it is the ultimate filter. It blocks the glare of the torch, but more importantly, it blocks the noise of the outside world. True mastery requires a monologue, not a conversation. You must learn to be your own audience, your own most ruthless critic. Embrace the silence of the forge, because the pressure of that solitude is what turns iron into steel. The work is done. The final piece stands in the center of the workshop, magnificent and possible. But Silas does not linger. He does not seek approval. He understands a truth the average person never grasps. That achievement is not the object. That achievement is the architect forged by the process. The finished piece is just the echo of the effort. The true reward was the hours spent fighting the resistance. Your motivation must never come from the validation of the world. Your motivation must be the hunger for the next challenge, the constant demand for more resistance. He walks back to the corner where the raw materials are piled. The silence returns. The space is still hungry. And Silas, the man whose every muscle and nerve is now optimized for the act of creation, is ready to feed it. He reaches for the welding mask. Stop talking about your legacy. Pick up the tool and build it. The work does not stop when the piece is finished. The work only changes form. The greatest lie sold to the aspiring is the promise of rest. The idea that once you achieve the thing, you can put down the tool and relax. Silas stands in the workshop, and the silence now is not restful. It is demanding. When you have spent every conscious hour forging your skill, that skill stops being a talent you possess and starts being a mandate you must obey. His hands, calloused and precise, twitch with the demand for the next weld, the next cut, the next challenge. This is the ultimate,
inescapable addiction of the creator, the compulsion to exercise mastery. You believe you are motivated by the idea of the great creation. Silas is motivated by the unbearable weight of his own perfected technique. The level of skill you achieve will eventually become the level of work you are required to do. You cannot be a master architect and spend your days building birdhouses. Your own mastery becomes your highest, most ruthless standard. You owe your time to your ability. This is why he rejects the very concept of recharging or self-care. The world treats the body and mind like a battery that must be carefully conserved. Silas treats them like a turbine that must be constantly fueled and spun faster. Relaxation is a form of betrayal to the potential you house. The people who preach leisure are simply afraid of the intensity required to sustain greatness. They are the tourists who treat the weekend as an escape from the responsibility of Tuesday. Silas sees every sunrise as an unpaid debt to the next impossible project. And this is why the solitude deepens. When Silas puts on the heavy leather apron now, it is less about protection and more about containment. It shields the world from the intensity he carries. He rejects the advice to scale up or delegate the vision. True creation cannot be outsourced. You cannot hand the welding mask to another person and expect them to see the same future burning on the other side. The moment you introduce dilution, you introduce doubt. The moment you introduce consensus, you dull the edge of the vision. Mastery is non-transferable. You must do the heavy lifting yourself, forever. His only competition is not the man in the shop next door. It is the man who finished the last masterpiece. His finished work, perfect as it may be, is now the enemy. The greatest challenge you will ever face is the relentless pursuit of surpassing your own proven potential. He spends his limited time studying his own past successes, identifying the millimeter of compromise, the single moment of hesitation, and ensuring that the next creation eradicates the memory of the last. He walks through the city and the skyscrapers do not inspire him. They criticize him. They are the work of lesser men built with compromises and deadlines. Silas sees the structural flaws, the dull ambition, the materials chosen for cost, not for permanence. He realizes that the only true reward for reaching the pinnacle of creation is the clear, painful vision of all the mediocrity below. His motivation is now rooted in a simple, terrifying understanding. If he doesn't build the next magnificent thing, it will not be built. The responsibility for the future of craft rests solely on the man who is qualified to execute it. He finds companionship only in the silent tools. The hammer doesn't flatter him. The steel doesn't lie to him. The instruments of his craft demand only precision and dedication. They offer no emotional complexity, only the immediate feedback of resistance overcome. The outside world is noise and sentimentality. The workshop is truth and immutable material law. The only relationship worth maintaining is the one between the hand and the material. You are asking for a day off. Silas is asking for a heavier hammer. He finds no joy in idleness. He finds only the slow, sickening erosion of his own capacity. The motivation is no longer an external spark. It is a deep internal burn. The pressure to live up to the standard he himself has carved into the stone of his own life. The tool rests only so it can be picked up again with greater focus and greater fury. You do not choose the grind. The grind chooses the master. The sun is not rising. The sun is not setting. Time in the workshop is cyclical, not linear, governed only by the demands of the material and the duration of Silas's consciousness. He has reached a threshold beyond mastery, a point where the distinction between the architect and the architecture has vanished. The previous chapter established the burden of his perfected skill. This chapter reveals the ultimate price of that perfection. The infinite depth of creation. Silas looks at the latest piece, a structure of impossible complexity, standing cold and silent in the massive space. It is flawless, it is eternal, and it provides no satisfaction. This is the final, terrifying paradox of the creator. The moment the masterpiece is complete, the debt increases. The reward is not joy,
The reward is the profound, sinking realization that you are capable of more. That is the curse placed upon the truly gifted. The fear that your previous work now defines the ceiling of your ability. Your masterpiece is not a monument to your genius. It is a benchmark for your failure to surpass yourself. They talk about legacy. Legacy is a trap laid by history to comfort the complacent. Legacy is the idea that you can stop. Silas understands that the work is not about history. It is about necessity. Every breath he takes, every resource he consumes, every hour he is allowed to exist is a loan taken out against his capacity to create. He is in infinite debt to his own potential. The only way to service that debt is to start the next project immediately, with a fury that eclipses the last. He rejects the applause of the ages because it is slow and dull. He seeks only the immediate, sharp validation of the material pushing back. The most dangerous sound in the workshop is silence. The moment the tool rests, the moment the hammer is still. That is the sound of erosion. The tribunal of time. The world measures things by relevance. They want their work to be current, to be viral, to be in the conversation. They're chasing a fleeting echo. Silas is not chasing relevance, he is dictating permanence. His creation does not participate in history. It restarts it. He views the conventional timeline as a shallow puddle. Most creators splash around in the present, worried about next quarter's trend. Silas built a bridge over that puddle, connecting the raw force of his initial idea directly to a future where trends no longer matter. When his work is discovered 1,000 years from now, historians will not ask, what was the context? They will ask what force was unleashed here. He has eliminated compromise, which is the only thing that dates a piece of work. He did not build for the market. He built for the immutable laws of physics and the uncompromising demands of the form. His work doesn't need a plaque or a signature. It speaks the language of steel and stone so loudly that it vibrates through the centuries. He has achieved creative immortality, not through biological science, but through pure, absolute will infused in the material. The man himself is irrelevant. The standard he enforced is forever. Do not build to be remembered. Build to be necessary. Build with a focus so complete that your creation becomes a requirement for the world's future. The elimination of self. The purple coat of Elias symbolized the burden of separacy. Silas's heavy leather apron and mask signify the elimination of the man. The true price of this mastery is not time or money. It is the loss of the self. The man named Silas ceased to exist the moment the work became the only purpose. His emotions, his memories, his personal needs. They were all compromises, weaknesses that had to be systematically purged, so the vessel could hold the full, terrifying current of his creative power. He is no longer a person who creates. He is the mechanism through which creation occurs. When he looks into the reflection of his own finished work, he doesn't see himself. He sees the efficiency of the design. He sees the absence of flaw. He sees the triumph of will over material resistance. The work is purified, a personal ego cleansed of sentimentally. It exists purely as the ultimate expression of craft. This is why you can never join a team, take a vacation, or seek human solace. The man who needs companionship is the man who fears the silence. And the silence is where his highest potential resides. His hands, his tools, the very walls of his workshop. They are his entire self-sustaining universe. He is the alpha and the omega of his own existence. He is complete, and therefore, alone. The world sees solitude as sacrifice. The architect sees it as security. The final motivates him. You ask what motivates him now, what drives the man who has achieved the impossible. It is the terror of the next blank page. It is the understanding that the most challenging work is not the construction of the object, but the maintenance of the will. The external battles are over.